Hey everybody, how are you? Hope you're doing well. Do me a favor before we get started. I need you to hit that like button. If you're not a subscriber, I need you to do me a favor, hit the subscribe button and notification bell next to it so that you will not miss an episode. So today we're going to talk about credit, in particular, when to pay the credit card to increase your credit score. First of all, we're going to talk about why a good credit score is important. So it's important for several reasons. Mainly, if your credit score is poor, they're charging you more. All right. So it's a more expensive life. So a bad credit score, they're charging you more for a house. They're charging you more for a car. For example, say that you are getting ready to go look for a house to buy a house. Well, depending on your credit score, you're going to have to pay a higher down payment because your credit score is lower. And then, say, for example, for some lenders, so some lenders are looking at your credit score, and if it doesn't match that criteria, they're not going to give you the loan. All right. And then different lenders, they have different criteria. All right. So those are some of the reasons why good credit is important. It's a more expensive life, paying more for your house, more for your car, and then getting denied for loans, depending on what lender you go to. All right. So paying a credit card. So one thing that you may consider doing is putting your minimum payments on auto pay. That way, a bill is never late. And generally, minimum payments are like around $40, for example. So putting your minimum payments on auto pay. That way, it is never late. Even if you are having a chaotic month, it is never late because it's on auto pay. All right, so when it comes to credit, as you know, they are looking at your payment history. So 35% of it is payment history. And that is, do you pay it on time or not? So late payments are going to decrease your credit score. So how do you fix that? You fix it by going online and selecting the auto pay button. All right, 35% of this is payment history. Are you paying on time, or you're not paying, or you're paying late? 30% of this is credit utilization, as you know. And to have an excellent score, it needs to be 0 to 9%. Now you're going to hear the number 30% all the time, right? So the average is a 30% credit utilization ratio. However, if you desire to have the highest credit score possible, they are looking at how much is on that card. And 0 to 9% is considered excellent, meaning 10%. So let's give a concrete example. All right. So you got a credit card, they're going to let you charge it up to $5,000. So to have an excellent credit score, it needs to be below 10%. So what's 10% of 5,000? 10% of 5,000. So your credit score needs to be less than 10% of that 5,000. And that would be considered a good credit score. So you're paying it down to less than 10%. All right. So when you pay is important also, along with credit utilization. All right. So to have an excellent is 0 to 9%, right? However, if you can get it down to 1%, that would be even better. Why? Because those charges tend to creep up. Like you're looking at your car, like, how did it get to, it was here, now how did it get to this point? So 1% is even better. However, 0 to 9% is considered excellent. All right. The lower you have charged, the higher your credit score. So it's inverse relationship. The lower you have charged, the higher your credit score. Inverse relationship. Now, when you pay is important also. So on the statement, you're going to have the due date and you're going to have opening date and closing date. So the due date is the same every month and the closing date is the same every month. So it's important to pay a couple of days before the closing date. And why is that? That's because on closing date, that's when they send the picture of what is on the card, what's charged on the card, and they send it out to the bureaus. So paying a couple of days before the closing date is important. And the closing date is the same every month. So finding out what that closing date is, you can find that out by looking at the statement that you get in the mail, or you can go online and look for the closing date, or you could actually call the company up and ask them what that closing date is. Get that closing date. It's going to be the same every month. Write it on your calendar. And then when you get close to that calendar, make sure that that credit card is down to less than 10%. And that's how you have a high credit score. Now, it's also important not to pay the full balance. So when you're paying it, it's important not to pay the full balance. Reason being is that you have to keep some balance on the card. Reason being, say if you charge $5,000 up, say if you have a $5,000 card and you charge up $5,000, and say if you pay off the whole $5,000. So what's going to happen is they're going to close your card. They're going to close your account. You're going to be wondering what they closed the account for. You paid it off. So they want you to be in some kind of debt. And so you have to have some kind of balance. You have to keep a balance on that card. All right. So make sure not to pay it off completely. All right. And so this is credit card in a nutshell. It's very simple, but it's the fact that it's not taught. Like people are learning this on their own. Right. So if you have children, teach your children how the credit card industry works and teach them the importance of good credit, why credit is even important. All right. Because it was not important to me for many, many, many years. All right. And so once you see something, you can't unsee it. And so you know the rules now. And you can actually improve your credit on your own. All right. So when it comes to good credit, what is considered excellent credit is 720 to 850. It goes all the way up to 850. So 720 to 850 is considered excellent credit. Now we usually hear 700 a lot, like joining the 700 club, for example. But 720 and higher is considered excellent credit. So that is a goal when it comes to credit. Now, when it comes to credit, as you get up into the financial industry, credit is not so important to a lot of people. Reason being is that some people don't use credit cards at all, so they don't have a credit score. Right? Some people don't use credit cards at all. Why? Because they don't need to use credit cards. Let's see what's going on with some other people as far as credit. So some people don't use credit cards. There's something else that I wanted to say, but I cannot think of it at the moment. What else is going on with the credit cards? Okay, now I thought of it. The other thing that's going on with the credit cards is when you get up in the financial industry is that credit becomes less important. Reason being is that people start to use creative financing. So they're not going to the bank trying to get loans, not concerned about how much they're paying for a house, how much they're paying for a car, because they start to use what is called creative financing. and using tools other than credit um, to buy the assets that they are buying. All right. So this is credit cards in a nutshell. If you have anything that you would like to add, feel free to add it. All right. Thank you for watching, everyone. If you are interested, feel free to join the free newsletter below. Thank you for watching, everyone, and I will see you on the next video. Don't forget, hit that like button on your way out.